Hello, my loves. Welcome to day three, our final day of the Align Your Year workshop. I'm so excited for today because I have not taught this part at all before. And this is where we make it all super real. This is where, for me, this has been my missing piece over like the previous workshops. This is where I haven't really known what to do or how to do it and like how to make sure that the plans that we set are not just like the best laid plans that never actually happen, or that it's not just this planning thing that we do where we lay out this wonderful strategy that we're like, oh, this is great, love it, but then are we actually following through with it? Are we acting upon it? And this is a process I've started and played with, and over the past, especially the past quarter, like the past 3 months, I've really like fallen in love with systems and how to rig your environment in your favor. And so that's really what we're going into today, is how to make it easier on yourself to meet your goals, to take your actions than not. And so I would love to hear from anyone just like in the chat, like in the past, have you struggled with like setting a goal and then following through with the actions from it? Like, has that been something where it's like they're all laid out and you do know the actions to take, but you have struggled to take them? Or like you said, you're like, I got my morning routine. Yeah, yeah. So yesterday we were really diving into like what to do. And I know for a lot of us, that was also a sticking point of like, but what do I actually do? Um, and now it's like, but how do I actually make sure it gets done? Right. So that's what we're going into today. And they're all like really important pieces, because there's a part of yesterday where we need to trust our strategy, right? We need to trust the version of us that created the strategy. Because if we're constantly undermining ourselves, like if we don't have this sense of like trust in the version of us who made the plan, it's almost like when we're creating the strategy, we're the CEO of our business. And then when we're doing the actions, we're the employee of our business, right? And if you're an employee who doesn't trust your boss, like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're talking about. Why would I even do what they say they're gonna like? There's no point. Then you're not as likely to even want to follow through with the actions, because you're not sure they're actually going to lead you somewhere. And there's this sense of like distrust and uncertainty. And like we talked about yesterday, that's what strategy is. Strategy is uncertainty. It's us trying to figure out, it's us trying to gamify the uncertainty of life to try to create a result that happens like in the wake of all the uncertainty. And so there's a level of, we need to just set our strategy for a period of time and just trust for that period of time that we don't know if it's going to work, but we know it's going to give us data. Right. And so that's why it's like we have a time period. And so for depending on what your progress metric is, you pick the time period, and it could be, I would say, either like 30 days or 90 days at this point. And then it's like you're going to reevaluate at that point. And then in the meantime, what we're doing is we're just implementing our systems. Okay. So there's all these different, and I'm going to go into this more when we do our monthly reviews throughout like our monthly planning throughout the year. But like there's different functions of the different planning sections. And the monthly planning is a strategy check-in, but the weekly planning, it's just a systems check-in. Right. The weekly planning, and this will make more sense as I show what systems are. But the weekly planning is not like, am I doing the right things? It's just, did I run the system? Did anything keep me from running the system? What can I do to rig my environment, to remove friction, to run the system? Like that's all we're doing, right? So the weekly planning is just removing friction to running the system. And we're collecting data. There might be information about like, do I think the system's working? But we're not adjusting it. The only thing we're adjusting is anything that gets in the way of running it. And there's also the possibility that we're like, I thought I could run 25 systems every day. Like, I can't do that, you know. So that's some other things we're looking at. So just having that in mind, and I think I want to make a diagram around this too, because I have this whole visual and I have all these pieces of paper that I've written about it. But that's, I want us to really, it's like by doing this process right now, the year is going to feel so much smoother from the logistical what do I do standpoint. And that's going to give you the sense of structure. And it's not going to be that starting a business is easy or any of the things are easy. But the thing we won't be as worried about is what to do, when to do it. Like that's going to feel like there's just more of a process around all of that. And at the same time, all of these things are skills that we have to build. So it's not like you're going to feel like I nailed my strategy in one day, because you're learning the process. Like how long did it take you to actually create like a proper differential diagnosis? Like was it like the first time that someone taught you that thinking process that you were like, I got this. I can totally do this. Right? It's that level and that depth of thought that we're doing to like problem solve and create strategies. And so it's like just giving yourself grace around that as well, that like all of these things are skills to build. And that's another thing. I didn't even get to put this in here because there's just like so much I want to teach, but we'll do this throughout the year as well. Is like skill building is a huge part of what I'm focusing on this year. And that's a big part of what we're going to do inside the sanctuary. Is it's going to be about skills and developing the skills of inner leadership, as opposed to like topics, right? Because skills are things you can learn how to do it, and then you need to practice and practice and practice. And so that's what like we're going to focus on, like breaking down the skills of leadership into like 12 micro skills and learning each one every month so that we can really build that up. But even besides inner leadership, there's a lot of like critical thinking skills, and just there's so many skills. And so that's one thing I'm personally focusing on this year big time, is like just assessing for like, where do I need more skills? And how can I build them? And like that's fun for us. We like learning. But there's times where like we don't have a growth mindset, where it's like we feel like we should already know it. Like we're like, oh, I learned in my 20s. That was my learning time. You know, now I'm big and bad and I need to know everything. Or I'm big and just not great, but I just need to know everything. So this is just me kind of starting us off, waking myself up so that then we can begin. How are you guys feeling for today? How are you feeling about the mission? Actually, let's start back with that again. I want you guys to just put that back in there. Put in the chat again, mission, goal. And I want this to be something you're like telling yourself every day, and that your recall for this is like so simple, like so fast. Because this is your anchor and this is your filter. And then I'll stop talking so we can actually go into today, so we can really make our systems for today. Okay. Mm, mm, mm. Yes. And then read it to yourself, speak it out loud. Tell me how you feel after you read it, right? Guide people in healing physically and emotionally. They need to truly know themselves and what they need. Oh, I love this. It's like healing through self-attunement. 100K profit. Yeah, that's what's happening. Oh, I love this. Yeah, yeah, I see this. So this is your guider, like your guiding light. It's like my actions. Are we supporting the mission? Is it supporting the goal? Great. We're on the right track. Like it's just so nice having a North Star, right? It just like anchor, North Star. I don't know. North Star's up, anchor's down. I think it does both. Um, yeah, okay. Yes. Gwen, ADHDFI. Set up systems, teach systems. Yes, you're a systems queen. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And so for you and for like ADHD stuff, you may know some of this stuff already. And like systems are just even more important because systems are kind of how we uh make up for the fact that we're not neurotypical. And I'm actually really learning how, like, instead of just beating myself up for all the things I can't do, I can just be really strategic. Yeah, but to me, systems, it's like how do you rig your environment so that the habits are easy? Because I really struggled with consistency and habits, and now I'm just seeing how clearly I made my life harder for myself than it needed to be, and it's so so funny that like that's what happened. Okay. And then yeah, yes. And this is I read this a long time ago. I read this like the year I left residency. And I quote him literally immediately. That's the first quote is from him. And this is true. Everyone who is more interested in developing systems, Atomic Habits is a great book. And then Tiny Habits is another really good one that a lot of the behavioral science people recommend. It's the dude who wrote that. He also has a bunch of training programs around behavioral science. And then I have a just a 16-minute video from my girl Layla Hormozy that I'll put in the chat as well. And I've read all of these, and I have a friend who she's a behavioral science like expert and teaches this too. So it's like you can learn it and you can like know that it's it's gonna work. But then there were some ways that I was doing it wrong still. Um, because I was still trying to like do too much. Because it's like you get the motivation to do it and um yeah. Anyways, okay. Okay, you got read your mission. Yes, take business full time with retirement planning. Hell yeah. And tell me how you feel after you speak it out loud to yourself, say it, feel it, tell me what you feel. Christina, teach equestrians how to perform in flow, true partnership, yes, internal regulation, self-actualization. What beautiful, like, six-figure business. Quit my brain off. Yes, guys, we're going full time. We are going full time, and I'm so excited. And I just like my whole mission is like, I want to develop a process that makes it just so inevitable for people to get to six figures that it's like, wait, why was this hard? So I love that you guys get to be part of the development. I was starting yesterday. I'm gonna give you guys a memo today for create your six figure offer and what to expect for the first quarter and the schedule because it's like we're just doing this. We are jumping in and we're going for it. Okay, let's go. Now, systems. As the venerable James Clear has said, we do not rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. And one of the big reasons for this is just the concept of motivation, right? Behavioral scientists will talk to you about this all day. They're like, fuck motivation. It's not like nobody's more motivated. Like you can create motivation, you can influence motivation, but like if you're trying to build a business relying on motivation, you've already lost, right? Has anyone here, let me know, have you found a way to sustain motivation 24/7? No. Do you think that other people have a way? Do you think the people who are doing big shit in the world, who you want to be like, do you think they're more motivated than you? Just actually check in. Check in. What do you think is their, why are they doing the things that you want to be doing? What is it? Because I've had so many friends think that I'm just more motivated than them. I'm just trying to get that motivation. Nah. And now there are like you can learn how to influence motivation. Like I know what generates motivation. I know if I listen to certain podcasts while I go on a walk, there's a lot of motivation, right? But that's still like it's a fickle friend. Okay, so it's not motivation. Is it discipline? No. No, what is it? It's an innate bravery. Lack of other uh confounding variables in their life. Time. Ooh. Ooh, I like that idea. That they have a better relationship with risk and uncertainty. Or what if they get it wrong? And what is that? Is that innate? Nature, nurture. Yes, it can be. It can be a learned skill. Exactly. Exactly. So they just learned a skill that's learnable. It's so cool. But so I love, and the thing is, like all of you guys, like you're so good at learning skills. You're so good at tolerating things. Like it's we just gotta like pivot the skills just like in a few directions. And then like there's just like a few ways that like clinical mind, academic mind makes it a lot harder. And once we like shift those, I need to like really sit down and identify those. Um, Once we shift that, it's like you're just this like you're so unstoppable and it's so cool. Because there's some things, there's just a few, like the high stakes perfectionism of like, which is a real thing, right? Like if you get things wrong, people die. And that's like it puts your nervous system into this state that's like terrified of mistakes. And then there's a big shame culture in medicine too. So that again, that like perpetuates the like terrified to make mistakes. If I make mistakes, I'm wrong. And so then it like kicks you out of the growth mindset into like the fixed rigid mindset. And then your nervous system, if it's hypervigilant, it keeps you there. Like it's really hard to move into growth mindset from a hypervigilant nervous system. And so there's just like a few tweaks we can make. And then it's like, we're just so good. We're so set up for success. Okay. I'm stoked. So what is a system actually? I know Gwen knows. So Gwen can feel free to share. But does anyone else want to share? Like when I say systems, what am I talking about? Run system. I feel like we're becoming robots today. What is a system? Yeah, I like that. What do I have written? Oh, look, I basically said the same thing. Repeatable process that makes it easier to implement your strategy than not. I love thinking of it in this way because it's almost like, again, like my whole thing about systems is like we're just rigging your environment in your favor. We're removing friction points. We're just, and here's an example, which is really fun. In Namibia, my friends and I, there was three of us, we were co-living, and our apartment in Namibia, the only thing that was like right in the walking distance was a gym. Okay. All the restaurants, the grocery store was like 15-minute walk, and the gym was like a 5-minute walk. And we're like, well, we rigged our environment. We're gonna be so fit. And we went to the gym all the time. Right. It was easier to go to the gym than to go out to eat. So we went to the gym. So that's just like one example of how, well, I mean, it's right here. Might as well go. And so that's what we want to do is like we just want to make it easy. Like life is hard enough. Goals are hard enough. Like let's just make it easier than like as easy as possible to do it. So like that sort of I think one of the problems we have when we're setting goals is we're like in our high achiever mode and we're like, no, I got this. And we plan our goals and our days and our systems for like our 90% days. And we really need to plan everything for like our 20% days. And it's like by doing that, and then we like stack these easy wins and we build things up and it's wonderful. So systems are execution driven. It's very like they can be so detail oriented. Sometimes you're like, all right, I get it. Like this is what we're doing, but it's like execution driven, removes friction. And this is something you're not going to know all the friction initially, right? You're going to think about the friction. We're going to go into it, but this is why in the weekly planning, then you're going to identify more and more friction that then you remove. Oh, remove this, remove. So that's really what the weekly planning is for. And there's no motivation required. And we'll say maybe there's just like very mild, very like manageable motivation. And here's the thing about motivation is we don't rely on motivation to implement strategy, but there will be a little bit of motivation required in this initial phase to set up your systems. So that's what we're going to use, right? So this is why it's really great to do it this time of year because we all have this high motivation for goals, but we just put it in the wrong way. We put it towards creating these crazy goals and ideas and strategy and like making plans. And like really we need to harness the motivation to set up the systems. Okay, systems anatomy. Trying to make this relevant for you guys. And this is from my actual system that I use. Like my Notion is my note-taking system. And so this is from that. Okay, so systems anatomy. We have a few different pieces. We have the purpose. Can you guys see this okay? Do I need to like zoom in more? I don't know how. So I can't. Let me just make this bigger. Here we go. Okay. So systems anatomy, we have the purpose, which is like, why are we running the system? And sometimes it's super obvious, but sometimes it's like, you don't want to just force yourself to do a bunch of like routines that are like, oh, well, I read this in a book somewhere that this is good for me. And so I'm going to do this. Like, no, we don't have time for that. Really what we want is the purpose of the system is in some way moving us towards our goal or our mission. Right. And the other things we'll talk about what systems we need, because it's not just about the goal setting or the strategy system. Okay. So there's the purpose. We just want to know the point. It can be really simple and sometimes really obvious. Like sometimes the point is just the point is the same thing as the process. And so you don't always need to have this, but sometimes for me, for like morning routine, I really wanted to get into what's the purpose of doing something in the morning. And for me, my purpose was to get in the zone, right? It's not just like to do a checklist of things I'm supposed to do in the morning. It's like, how do I get in the zone? Okay. So we have that. What is the purpose of the system? This is for my content batching system. I'm just in the creation process of it. And so it's like, why am I trying to batch content? Because I want enough raw material that I can post daily in 30 minutes or less. That's like pretty clear. So it's like, I'm going to sit down on a Sunday, write as many caption rough drafts as I can. And then during the week, I have these like kind of mostly done things that then it's pretty simple to post during the week, right? So then that makes it easier to hit my goal. If I had to start from scratch every day, but then also for me, if I have to create the entire perfect post in one setting, like 7 perfect posts in one set, 7 completed posts in one setting, that's too overwhelming for me and I can't do it. So I won't even run that system. So it's like really having to learn. And this is what I've learned through time. And so you guys might have different systems. They're also like always in flux. I think that's important to know too, is like, I said this in the time management thing, is the most flexible system wins, right? So that's an important thing to keep in mind, is like, where does it need to have flexibility? Where does it need to implement? So like for me, part of my morning thing is like, I'm going on a walk in the morning. But that's like the first thing I'm doing when I wake up. I'm like, just go on a walk immediately. But it needs to be flexible, because on days like today, it's dark outside and I don't want to like, it's not like I have to go to the treadmill and do it because the gym's not even open yet. Or it's not that I have to go on this walking trail because it's dark outside. So like, I just have to go on a walk. And so I just walked around. My building's a circle. I just did a few laps around the building, right? That counts. But there's flexibility within it. So that's an important thing to think about. Okay. Trigger. When does this happen? And for this, it's like, when does the system run? What sets it into motion? And so it can be, and you might have to play around with this for a bit. It can be your calendar, like at a certain time of day, right? Like at a certain time, because based on my calendar, this is when the system runs. Or it could be an alarm clock goes off. That triggers it. It could be there's an activity during the day that happens, like every time I take a shower, this is happening, so it's like, it can be anchored to an activity you're already doing. It can be time-based. It can be like time-based can be like from your alarm clock, from your calendar. You also want to think about like what you pay attention to throughout the day. Like, what do you check throughout the day? Do you live by your calendar? Okay, then that's an easy place to put your triggers in. Are you a little more chaotic? Okay, you might need some alarms to really get you to really like, bring you out. Are you very ritualed already? Do you have a lot of things you're already doing at certain times. Like this is an art of like creating these, right? So when does the system run? What sets it into motion? Oh, I had another one. It's like, it could be context based too. So it could be like every time you go to a certain place, there's something that you do. So like every time I don't know what that would be. Why that would be a system, but that could be, oh, actually, no, I do have that. When I, when I arrive in a new Airbnb, wherever, like I unsettle, I have an unpacking protocol. And it's a really specific thing I have to do to like maintain my sense of sanity. So yeah, that's like, I get to a specific place. And one time I got to a co-live and she's like, oh yeah, you can just drop your stuff off. And then we're actually having dinner right now. Come meet everybody. And I was like, what? Can't run unpacking protocol. I was like, oh God, don't be weird. Don't make it weird. And I like went out and I was just like talking to people, but I just had this sense of like unsettled. So I couldn't even hang for that long. So yeah, there's certain honestly, these are, I'm not like the most habitual person, but there's certain ones I have that have kept me sane as I travel and have been homeless for like 7 years. It's like really these kinds of things that keep me sane. Okay. Then you need to have a process, which is what exactly occurs step by step. And the way I think about this is, let's say you have a moment when you're at your 20%. There's a lot of friction that can occur from if I said I'm going to sit down and batch my content, right? That can create overwhelm. So the broader the task is, the more you have to break it down into like really specific verbiage to make it easy for yourself. So yeah, if I said every Sunday I'm gonna batch content, and then one Sunday I'm like, I don't know, I didn't do it. Why didn't I do it? Well, I don't know what that means to batch content. So I need to give myself really specific instructions. Sometimes I'll use ChatGPT to do this. I'll say like, hey, can you help me break this down? What am I actually trying to do here? Can you give me the steps? It's like you think about it like you just don't have to think. Like I even did this with ChatGPT when I'm traveling, and it's like, I did like a 27-hour trip recently, and I just like my brain doesn't think well. Like, what do I have to do when I land? I forgot. Like, do I get my luggage? And so I was like, can you just write it out step by step for me so that then I can just look at the thing. So then I like have it, and I was like, okay, pick up bag from baggage claim. Cool. Do that. Go call, grab, like open app, call, grab to get. So it's like, it's breaking things down, assuming you're at your 20% and you just need to follow instructions. And what I will say about this, don't try to list this out if you haven't ever done it ever yet, right? Like if you've never like batched content, like you can just try to brainstorm it, but don't try to like lock something in until you've done it. And then you just are repeating what you've done. Cause then that can feel harder. Like this shouldn't be like, I'm trying to plan it. This should be, I'm documenting what occurs. Right. So if it's something you've never done, we're not going to start by making a system for it. We're going to start by doing it. And then we're going to say what you did to make the system. And we're going to start with like simple ones. So like this would not be one you start with, especially if you've not like batched content. But this is just an example of the level of detail, right? I'm sharing like, what are the tools I need? Like Stan is one of the AI things I use. Open Notion. Like it's like literally, what am I doing? Rough draft V1, put rough draft in, ready to go means label with data posting. Okay. And then we need a way to track. Okay. So tracking, we're answering 2 questions. Did the system run? Right? How do you even know the system ran? And it's best if you can look at something that you don't also have to track. So for example, when I was doing and I'll show you my daily ones, the other ones I have too. My morning thing, how do I know if the system runs? Well, I can go to my health app and look at, did I take steps in the morning? So there's ways for me to say that the system ran without having to, in the moment, mark it somewhere that it ran. And so the more we can do that, like, because we want less steps for everything, right? So the more you can just observe if the system ran as part of the system, or like if there's just a way to catch it, that doesn't require you also doing something. We want to look for those kinds of things, right? So we're looking at, did the system run? Did the system work to achieve the intended goal? Right? And the goal is just this part, right? And then where and how are you tracking it? Okay. And so I'm getting super specific. Sunday weekly spread, I'll note how many captions I wrote. I wrote 4 this time, like in my first go at this. During the week, I will note how long it took to finalize and post captions. So as I like am posting it, I'm just checking to see, did this take 30 minutes or less? You know, did that work? Okay, that's it. And then weekly review, I'm just looking at it, be like, okay, did that work? Cool. Do I need to adjust anything? I think I actually need more time to do it. I only gave myself like 90 minutes and I got 4, but they're really good. Like it took me less than 30 minutes to post them because they were very complete. So I think, yeah, I just need to figure out, do I want more captions, less complete, or give myself more time? So yeah, just kind of those sorts of things. Okay. So these are the pieces of a system. This is the system anatomy. We're going to work through this in your workbook. But now we want to look at what systems we need. And I have this in our workbook as well, but there's something, and I call them gateway systems. I think I called them anchor systems over there, which I think is better. There's certain types of like anchor systems that what they do is they give us checkpoints that can help us hang all the other systems from, if that makes sense. So like when I'm talking about tracking, like every system needs some sort of tracking. And so if there's a time every week where you're just doing general tracking, then you can track all the different systems at once, right? So like there's a lot of parts of it that I do during my weekly review. And then daily, there's a lot of things in systems that will require something to happen every day. So if there's some kind of daily check-in and a weekly check-in, so that's why I have like 3 anchor systems that I think are really key to just set up and establish. And this is what I want us to really work on right now. And you might already have some version of these, but having some kind of weekly planning review system, right? It could be weekly scheduling, just like a weekly meeting with yourself, basically. And then having a daily check-in. It doesn't have to be anything long. Like mine's just a few questions I ask. It could be a journaling, it could be morning, could be night, but just having some sort of daily anchor. And then having a system for just getting the things from your head out of your head, essentially, right? Ideas or to-do capturing. So that could be, and this version of system is quite loose because it's very context-based. It's like, yeah, so this, anytime I have an idea, I'll actually show you guys this because it's really cool. There's like shortcuts you can do on your phone. I think I'll make a video because I don't know how to show it right here. But I made a shortcut on my phone that like anytime I have something I want to brain dump, I just like I click this button and it pops up something and I just put it in there. And then it goes into my Notion database in a really simple way. Like it's the simplest way of like getting things from one to the other. And then during my weekly review, I track it. And I'm not perfect at these, but like even just having something in place that like you fail at is better than having nothing at all. And then we can tweak it and adjust it. So it's like we wanted to start getting some kinds of things in place. And then business systems. There actually, I didn't really finish listing all of these. So actually, yeah, I didn't finish here. Whoops. This is for finishing things. Okay. So now let's go into our workbook because that's where we're gonna spend the rest of the time. And I will drop do you guys all have it already? It's the same one as yesterday? Yeah. Okay. share my screen. So what I actually want to do is start off by, before we go into the other ones, I just want to look at the anchor systems just to see if you guys have anything like this in place. So let's start here of like, do I already have a version of a weekly review process? Like, do I already have just sort of some kind of meeting or check-in with myself? Do I already have a daily one? Do I already have something to capture idea? Like, what am I currently doing in these areas? And you might have nothing, and that's totally fine. But I also just want to work with like what's already happening, what's already working for you. And then we can think about like, if yes, what does it look like? You know, is it doing something? If no, do I think this would be a helpful one to implement? Okay, so let's start with that. Let's do the weekly, daily, and idea to do things and see what you already have in place, just to see what we're working with. So let's take about 5 minutes here. We'll start with 5 minutes, and then once you're done, just type done in chat. I'm gonna grab my charger. Hey, Laura, do you want to share what ones you have?
Sure. Let me just split my screen. Well, I'll just look at it. Um, for the weekly review, I have for 3 out of 4 weekends, because one weekend Justin's working. We'll have a meeting, one for home and one for work. And then every weekend, every weekend, um, I'll create and schedule social media posts. And then daily, I have on my notes app, I have actually I have like I spend a lot of time as this. I have 4 different
Yeah.
types of days depending on like when Justin's working and when he's not. So then depending on the type of day, I have different like tasks that I want to complete each day. Um, so that's a daily. And then for ideas or to do, I have it's like a Google Doc that we
Mhm.
share for any like ideas that come up about like business related things. And then
Mhm.
we also have a notes thing that we share about like these are things in life that we need to take care of.
I love this. Yeah, that's so great. And so it's like, how does that feel to like acknowledge the systems you already have in place?
Well, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like I have been doing this. But on the
Mhm.
other hand, I'm like, but something's not working because I'm still not like making it all work. So,
Yeah, yeah. So for each of those, I think it would be good to just look at what's the purpose of this system,
mhm,
like kind of running it through this met like this frame of like what am I trying to do with these meetings? Like what Justin and I when we have our weekly meetings. That's great. We have a structure in place. So
mhm,
that's it's always more useful to have something in place that then you can tweak than to
mhm.
have to put something new in place.
Yeah.
Like, so we're already working with something. And then it's like, okay, what are we intending to do with these systems? Right? Like the weekly meeting, what are we trying to do here? And then is it working in the way that so it's like, is there anything we need to tweak within the system? Like, it's like, are we running the system? It seems like you are running it, like it's
Hmm.
happening. And then it's
Yeah.
just, what are we trying to do with it? I'm not sure. Is it communication? Is it making decisions? It's like, it's maybe just refining the purpose of the system and then
Hmm.
seeing what you can tweak to meet that. And like, because usually it's the friction. We need to look at that if the system's not running,
Hmm.
like if you're not actually, well, I have it, but I'm not doing it. Okay, then we look at friction. And if it's running, but it's not really doing, something's not working, then it's like, okay, let's look at the purpose.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really, really good examples.
Thanks.
And the other thing we can also look at is like we're talking about like sort of intentional systems that we're doing on purpose, but there's probably systems that you're running like not super intentionally that we could also look at of like, is there just something you're doing every week that you're like, well, every week I just happen to do that. Like there's a version of a system happening there, whether it's intentional or not. And so those are also things we can build on, we can look at. So even if it's like you're not meaning to do it, but like you're defaulting to doing something, we can look there as like what is the thing you're doing every week? Like every week or every day, my check-in is I'm watching Netflix. Okay, well, what can we work through with that? Because there's something happening. So it's okay, so that's your decompression system, that's your wind down system. How do we tweak it to make it more effective? Right. Before I started running my current morning system, I did have one. It was just wake up and like pick up my phone and scroll on things, So it's like I did have one. It wasn't the one I wanted. And so then I put friction towards the old one. That's just something really cool you can do with your phone. You can make certain apps require a passcode to open the app. Did you guys know that? That's changing so much for me. I have put passcodes on every social media app, which I only have. What do I have? I have Facebook on my phone so I can post on stories. I don't need Substack on my phone. I'll just take that off. And then I have my email and I have passcodes around it. So I can't just go in and check whenever, like, it's so much friction. This is a version of like, you can create friction around things you don't want. And then we can remove friction around what we do want to happen. Okay. Has everyone else like kind of looked at their anchor systems? Do you see what you already have in place? Because systems are all like about working within the context and ecology of your life. Like it's like we don't need to copy each other's. We need to really look at our own environment and our own life. And so there's a lot of personalization for this. And the other thing I want to do before we go into like the business ones is the self-care systems. Um, right. And I haven't fully done this. This is something I'm going to be doing as well. But like, I think self-care can have a lot of, I don't know, it can have weird connotations. Actually, I'll ask you guys, what is your relationship with self-care right now? Does it feel like it's just another to do that you're like failing on? Does it feel like, I don't know, something that you're just kind of indulging yourself around? Like what's your current relationship with self-care? So I think there's two sort of uh unhelpful archetypes of self-care I've noticed. One is like bringing perfectionism into it and then saying like I need to do, or like it's like a self, it's like comparison and perfectionism, bringing it into it of like, oh, well, everyone else is doing green juice in the morning. And so I need to do that. And, or like, it's almost like for appearances or for, I don't know, we're beating ourselves up for like not doing the things that we're supposed to do. And like it adds more stress because it's another to do list. Oh, I'm failing at self care. We're kind of, that's one archetype of like the perfectionist self care. But then there's the other archetype that I also don't find as useful is people who are like using self care as like avoidance of the things they really want to do. And it's hard because it's like the pendulum swung so far the other way that they're like so afraid of burning out that they're like, oh, well, I was going to do this thing, but I just had a self care day. And meanwhile, they're not doing any of the things they say they're going to do because of they need self care. And it's like that's a really common sort of reaction from being in a high stress career where you're burnt out. You're like, I'm going to do it differently. But then we swing kind of too far the other way of like, it's actually not really caring for yourself to avoid the things that are most important to you. And so there's like the avoidant self-care archetype who are like, I'm gonna just, I don't know. It's like I think it's usually the people who are spending like hours and hours every day. And it's like, well, then your self-care system is not effective. If you can't like run it and like accomplish something, yeah, if it's not really doing the things you want it to do, it's actually not being effective. It's just doing nothing. Okay, so those are sort of the two archetypes. And I wonder if you guys have felt either of those, like the unhelpful archetypes, which one you maybe resonate with more, like the perfectionist archetype is not helpful, the avoidant one is not helpful. Yeah, okay, so you're leaning maybe more towards the perfectionist one of like, get it done. It is a thing to check off. Yeah. So yeah, so then for you, it's more looking at like the purpose of the system again, like um for like so for example, for my morning one, it's like it would feel like a checklist if it wasn't really integrated to the outcome. Because since the purpose of it is to get in the zone and I have ideas for how to do that and I run the system, it doesn't feel like a checklist as much as like you notice that what it's achieving, and then that's what you're working towards, as opposed to like, all right, go on walk, whatever. It's like going on walk, getting into the zone. So I guess there's times where, because normally I'm saying detach from the outcome, detach. And there's certain times where it's like actually attached to it because it's an immediate outcome that then you can attach to. So to really have these intentional self-care systems, the thing we want to look at is what self-care priorities are most important for me right now. And that can be a very broad question. For me, the two things I'm really focusing on is just like making sure I process stress. That's a big priority. And then having like energy and attention. So maybe for some of you, the self-care priority that's most important is like connecting with family, right? And like getting really quality time with family. And that's super important. Or maybe that's a value, but that's actually not self-care because it does drain you, even though it's important. So then, okay, so then that's not part of the self-care. So self-care is not just, we'll say it's not just your personal life. It's balloons. It's what recharges you. So there's certain friends I have who I would say like they're kind of like self-care friends for me because when I hang out with them, when I spend time with them, it really nourishes me. But my priority isn't like connecting with friends right now. My priority is like these two things of like processing stress and then making sure I have enough energy and attention every day. And then based on our priorities, then we can see like what systems could be supportive for that. So once you have your self-care priorities in place, or like once you've thought through those, drop that in the chat because I think that's an important starting point. It's like, what am I prioritizing self-care wise? And also the way I'm thinking of self-care is like through the lens of mission and goal, right? It's like, what, how do I need to take care of myself to be the person who works towards this mission and goal? Yeah. And then I would even for that, Laura, for the daily exercise and the eating well, like what is that? What priority is that leading towards? Like, what does that do for you outcome wise? Right. Because the priority is even it's more outcome focused than the action, right? It's like, yeah, that's probably like, is that the daily exercise and movement? Is that like mental wellness? Is it the stress that it does? Is the eating well, having healthy food to eat, is that just helping you feel energized throughout the day? Is that helping you feel just neutral, like non-bloated? And it's like, what is the priority around? Because like bringing down stress levels would be like a priority. And then self-development, it's like maybe that priority is that like skills related? Or is that part of the stress? So yeah, the priority is like anchoring it to an outcome. Yeah. Okay. So prioritizing like stress management, health and energy management. And then even for you thinking of like, what is health? Is it like straight up mental health? Is it physical health? Like, and you don't have to define it for me. It's just for you to know. Yeah. So then I would potentially even separate those, of like a mental health management and physical health management. And maybe the physical health management is like energy is a part of that. Um, And then the mental health one, it's like, what's the outcome around that? Is it just, it doesn't have to be super specific, but it's just getting into like, what is this really doing for me? To me, that's what makes it not feel like a checklist. And it makes it feel more like necessary for daily life. Like the more I realize what what my self-care does for me, the more I can really anchor that, the less it feels like a checklist. So it could be just like resilience too. Like I notice there's times for me that's like the stress management and the like, yeah, I don't want my resilience to get really low. And so I'm like managing stress so that I feel more resilient, so that like, problems come to me and I'm like, okay, I'm resourceful, I'm solution oriented. I can do that. And so there's like yeah, mental resilience. So you might not know exactly what it's going to do for you, but for me, it's like every time yeah, for me with self-care, when I understand how it helps me in the physical way, like, and I can really anchor to that, I know that it's my self-care and not something someone else told me to do. It's sort of like Laura, how you have that like people attuning to themselves. I'm using that word, you didn't use it, but like, when you know what you need and you know how things are impacting you, there's that level of, yeah, it feels less like a checklist and more just like, yay, this is nice. Okay. So we have our priorities. Now what I want us to do is go back up, because initially what we're doing is we're just making a systems brainstorm. We're not committing to implementing anything just yet. We're just kind of getting a lay of the land of like, what do we want to implement and what do we want to implement first? And so the other thing we want to do, we've kind of looked at our current life and our self-care things, and we want to look at also what's the strategy we're trying to implement, right? So from day 2, you left with a strategy which had daily actions, weekly actions, monthly actions. And so based on the strategy, we're going to bring that back here, right? Based on the strategy, what are the actions I'm committing to? And so we put those here. And then based for those actions, it's like, what systems can be put in place to make those actions really easy to execute consistently? So if my action is post on stories every day, well, what's going to make it easier to do that? Maybe if I have a time every day where I'm doing it, like maybe I need to have a certain like content hour where I'm sitting down and posting, or maybe I need to have a system for organizing ideas so I know exactly what to put. Like we're kind of just brainstorming, what are the general systems I could have in place to make that easier? For publishing podcasts, I need a system for batching the content for that. Or I just need a system for when I'm recording it. So the goal is just to get a list of like potential systems or like, ultimate systems that you want to be implementing. Once you have a few systems, let's say like you have at least 3 systems written out that you want to start with, or just 3 systems from this, 3 systems that could help your strategy, then just like type done in the chat. And if you have questions about this part, comment in the chat. Okay, once you have your systems listed out, go ahead and drop done. It doesn't have to be comprehensive. It's just thinking about getting started. So don't think you have to write down every single system ever, but just what systems would be helpful to get you started. All right, so I wrote, I need a refining my messaging system. Like, how am I doing that? Facebook group sharing system. If I want to be sharing in Facebook groups every week, like, how am I doing that? And then I need a daily posting system and an outreach on LinkedIn system. I also need a tracking buying signals system. So once you have like a brainstormed list, right? That's what we're doing initially here. It's just like, what are all the ones I might need? And it might be like, oh, I might need a lot of them. And that's okay. But from the different ones, what are the top three systems I want to like work on and implement, refine first? What I'm gonna recommend is that you have like one strategy system. Like we start with one strategy system, one system to support that. One anchor system. And I would say the main anchor system I'm going to recommend is like the weekly check-in, really getting that down. And even if you have it, but you're not sure how it's working, like refining it. So I would put that on there and then one self-care system. So I would choose one of each. And this is just for us to get started. And once you have those three, pop those in the chat of like, what are the three that we're working with? Yeah, love that. Yeah. And Laura, for the system to create refined offer, that might be more like a system for like deep work. You know what I mean? Like, and then that's probably going to change. And I think this is a really good point of like not every single one-off task needs a system as much as like the things we need to do regularly. But this, you're going to have other times where you're going to need to do deep work like this. And so I think that's potentially the greater system is like, what's my process for like having deep work days and like really getting into a zone and doing some deeper work. Does that resonate? That's like a, yeah. Yeah. But then once the offer does exist, then refining the offer would be an ongoing thing that then we have a system for, if that makes sense too. Like, that's part of like, what's my system for collecting feedback about how it's doing and then making adjustments. Like that would be an ongoing system that you would want to implement. And I think for your weekly thing, it's like you already have part of a structure in place, which is great. So then it's just, do I want to add on solo time to that? Like Justin and I are meeting. Do I want to add on before or after? Just Laura's doing something. Do I want to refine what we're talking about in the thing or like how the meeting goes, what the purpose of it is? So I think you got a starting point and you can go from there. It just got very cold. Okay, once you have the systems that you want to start with, what I'll have us do now is just begin, right? Like you have these different things to look at. I made a bunch. You can copy and paste as many as you want to. You can use this to make your systems. You can use something else, but this just walks you through the prompts of what's the purpose of the system, what action is it supporting, and I'll also say in there like maybe what priority is it supporting. That could be something else. Trigger, when does it run, what sets it into motion, process, exact steps I'll take to complete it, tracking, how will I track and implement, how will I track if it's working or if it ran, and then the implementation is just like what setup is required, like what's the initial setup things, right? Because sometimes there's just like some initial things we do to set up the system and then it can run. So like, sometimes even just creating the system is the setup, but like, I'm trying to think of an example for my weekly review system. It's like, I'm making it, but then I wanted to create a Notion document that like, I'm using it every day or every week that has that. So sometimes there's little setup things. So what I'll have you guys do is we're going to spend about, spend about 10 minutes, like just getting at least one system. One system. You can do many more than that, but let's just try to get at least one system brainstormed and like locked in. And then if you have questions or want to talk through some part of the creating the system with me, then just unmute yourself and ask me the questions. But we'll just spend about 10 minutes right now doing, oh my gosh, 10 minutes, just working on our own systems. All right. How are the systems coming? Does everyone, do you feel like, just drop a yes in the chat. Do you feel like you have an understanding of like, at least how to begin when it comes to creating systems? Obviously, this is an ongoing conversation and it's a skill and there's so many factors. But yeah, it's like I want you guys to have an initial sense of like, okay, I get it. And this is very like experiential. This is very much like it's more about doing it and playing around with it and seeing what happens. And it's like it's using this now we'll have this language like throughout the year as we're working on business. I'll be like, well, do you have a system in place for that? Okay. Well, should we make a system? Right. So it's like this is just kind of opening up the conversation of systems in general. Does anyone have a system they want to share? Does anyone be like, oh my God, this is brilliant. This is such a good idea. I can't wait to share this system.
I can share. I don't know
Yeah.
how brilliant it is, but for the deep work system, I think I need to schedule. I do a weekly schedule every like Sunday anyway,
Mhm.
but I thought if I schedule in, I'm saying 4 hours of like I'm just gonna be working, like I cannot be interrupted. I cannot do anything else
Yeah.
and schedule that in. And if possible, to leave. It's just that
Yeah.
some of this, like Justin needs to be involved with, and can't both leave. um, but if he's not involved with it, then also like leave.
Yeah. 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 And that's why it's like the flexible system, right? It's like, how do we make it flexible? You know, what are the
Yeah.
sort of contingencies of it? And then also for you, like, if Justin, you like Justin needs to be involved in some of the deep work.
Yeah, like for instance, like I told you yesterday, we want to go through the kind of like questions that you had posed during the 12-day thing.
Mhm.
But I want to do that with him because it's like both
Yeah.
of our
Yeah.
vision. So I can do it by myself, but it would be better if he was involved. So that kind of thing he needs to be there with. But once that's done, I can like implement it and do all the rest of the stuff he doesn't need to be there for.
Yeah. And I think that'll be an interesting thing to do over time as well, is figuring out what's the like sort of division of labor, like what are the different roles for the business so that like, and it just takes time to figure that part out, but like what are the parts that like you are going to be best at doing and taking your own time with that, and then what are the parts that you guys like really need to do together and come to
Mhm.
like consensus on, and kind of figuring those things out too so that you can trust like your own, like you can go and have your own times of deep work
Mhm.
and know that like you're working on the thing and like how to come together and well the things
Yeah.
that you guys do together versus the things that like you each can do on your own so that it's not even like maximum efficiency, but just like using the resources in the best way that you can. But I think at the beginning, like you're right, like things need to be contemplated together.
Yeah, I mean, like the vision, I feel like we need to both be on board with, with
Yeah.
the same vision. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But that'll be cool to like figure out that'll be a lot of systems to develop too of like how you work together, and those sorts of systems will be really cool to
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I love that. Dude, 4 hours of deep work, even just 4 hours a week, like that's it's so powerful. Like the way I've learned how to like really harness in for deep work, it's like, oh, this is like I don't have to work all the time because I just like really focus. Oh, okay, now I'm just done for the day because I'm really just focused in. I'm not distracted. And how much like if you're in a deep work zone, even one person just like poking on you and being like, hey, are you hungry? Do you want to do? And you have to say no. And it's like the simplest thing, but it's like one little interruption can just derail. So I'm like, I'm not doing deep work in co-working. Like I'm doing it in my own space and just really being rigid about that part. Non-flexible. All right, loves. So from what we've done in the workshops, right? We have our goals, our mission. We're anchored in. We have our strategy. We've also just learned skills, right? What I think is the most helpful thing I can share here is like let's not be too precious about all the ideas we created here because it's really about the execution, right? The planning is not the planning is important to like have these check-ins, but let's not think that like we're going to make this plan and everything's going to go exactly according to plan and everything that we want. Like so let's not be so derailed by it. It's like this is having this like flexible sense of we're beginning a process, right? It's not what's coming to me right now is the difference between like we had the wedding versus like we're in a marriage. Like I think a lot of people approach their New Year's resolutions and goal setting like, oh, it's the wedding. Oh, cool. We're done. We're married. Everything's done. Nothing else to do. I did my goal setting. That's it. Versus like, no, no, no. We're just entering into a marriage with ourselves and our goals for the rest of the year. And so this is the beginning of it. And there's going to be work and there's going to be commitment and there's going to be showing up even when you don't want to show up. And it's fun to have the like the pretty wedding and the ceremony and all of that, but like we're not in it for the flash in the pan moment in time. We're in it for like we're working through it. So like what I really want you guys to realize is like I'm giving you tools and skills and processes and like now we're thinking through them. We have this zoomed out perspective to think about like what it is we want to implement and do, but like we're not done. Like this is the beginning. And that doesn't mean we don't give ourselves credit. And it's like, hey, we showed up. We like really took some time to reflect and to get things focused and to get clear. But like this is just the beginning. So keeping that in mind as we go through this whole process. So through from these 3 days, I would love to just like tune in, like, what is your takeaway um, from doing this planning process? What do you think will be different this year than last year? Like, how will this set you up for things to be different?
I think I'll share something.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I think for me, um, what will make this coming year different compared to this year through this kind of these exercises, I think it just gave me it felt very almost confrontational because it's more self-confrontational. It made me realize like a lot of because you mentioned earlier on that like there's so many different strategies and all strategies work, but there's something that's really blocking the execution. Like I've had in the past year so many different strategies, like you need this, and this. And regardless of what it was given to me, there was something that was blocking it. And so that's why it felt really confrontational. And I think you offered this space for me to just sit with it and say, well, what really is it? Without, like, you held that space without me feeling the shame and the fear. And by me just facing it, I think it takes those barriers down a notch that it makes the strategies manageable. Like I can do this. I can see myself doing it. So for 2026, I see more execution on my end rather than hidey hole protection.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Christina. And I just want to like celebrate you for like sitting in the confrontation, like showing up every single day and being like, because it can be really easy if something feels confrontational to then be like, I'm too busy to go tomorrow. Like I'll do the replay.
Yep.
But you came every day, even though you're feeling a sense of confrontation. And that's incredible. So I want to like really applaud that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's the other thing, just like to wrap back to the context of enoughness where we started all of this, is like none of this is about worth. Like worthiness is just there. Like we are worthy. We could not achieve goals and we're fine. Like we don't need to achieve these goals. None of this is need. We don't need to do anything. We could be lumps on a log full of worth, Teletubbying around. Like it does, we don't have to do anything. Like we deserve to be loved. We deserve to be cherished. Like all the things we're talking about, we're already enough. What else do we want to do? How else do we want to spend time? And it's like really taking away the stakes of like, you could do nothing from this workshop. You could implement nothing and you're not a bad person. You're not wrong. Nobody hates you. Nobody judges you. Like, I don't think any less of you as a person. You're still incredible. It's just, you're probably not as fulfilled. But like, that's okay. Like, so it's like, if we just really make it okay to do absolutely nothing, and then we can look at it and be like, yeah, but I don't want to do that. Okay, cool. Then let's go do something. But like, we're okay. So thank you for bringing that up, Christina, because I'm sure you're not the only person who has felt that, and I have felt that. like all in December, I'm always like preparing to kind of do this workshop. So I'm looking at like, what did I do last year? And I was like, oh man, I did not. Like my whole podcast episode I made of like all the ways I failed. I was like, this is so real. I really did just not do things. And I'm not mad at myself, but I'm just like ready to stop fucking around. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Does anyone else want to share it verbally? I know you guys shared in the chat. Ooh, I like that, Laura, of like letting things evolve. That's the thing about growth. That's another thing I think I've realized this year about business. It's like, I think I was trying to find like the thing, it's like, what's the thing that's going to work? Like, and there is a sense of like, what's the product market fit that we want to lock in? But then I don't know, like, your business is not ever going to be just like set it and forget it from what I've learned. like there's a level that can be set it and forget it, but then there's like evolution that happens. And then, so yeah, I feel like I'm no longer looking for like, what's the thing that's gonna make business work? I'm just like, there's an infinite game and a finite game, and like business is an infinite game. And so for infinite games, the purpose of the game is to keep playing the game. For finite games, the purpose of the game is to win the game. Right. But if we look at business as an infinite game, the purpose of it is to keep playing versus to win. And if we want to keep playing, I heard it from Alex Hormozy. I'm not sure where it originated from. That could be. It could be from Simon Sinek. But yeah, I've heard it just on a YouTube video. So I don't know. Okay, and then Gwen solved 2 constraints. Yay! I love that you're using the language too. Solve the system glitches of the Google spreadsheet. Okay. Oh, excellent. Oh, I love that. Very cool. Okay, my loves. What I am gonna do, this is not as relevant for you guys because you participated through this whole time, but I'm gonna have like a Q&A, I think like next week or the week after, for just the workshop for people who are doing the replay and want to like have questions. So like if you guys have things that come up again from workshop related material, you're obviously welcome to join the Q&A. Because I do want to give like, I might even have 2, like, because I don't like the idea of just like, okay, here's what to do for the year. Now go do it. It's like, we have January where like things are gonna come up. And so yeah, throughout that time, I'll open up some Q&As, and that way we can really like just implement it and get it sorted. But just to like, let me just wrap up from the, let's see, we started off, let me just go back to the screen thing. The goal was to go from desires, goals, plans, actions, follow through. And the follow through part is like the system, but then we also like, that's going to be work in progress. And yeah, I feel like we got there. I feel like we're ready. I'm so excited for 2026. What are you most excited about for 2026? Making money. Yeah. Yep. I'm excited about my season of no. I'm gonna do a podcast on that soon, but I'm I'm entering a season of no. And yeah, really a season of no. It's just a season of yes, but it's like saying a bigger yes. So you have to say a bunch of little no's. I'm excited about just really being so intentional about it. Yeah, I'm excited also about everything I learned last year that I'm like, oh, now I get to implement. Also, if you guys we talked about this at the beginning, like the astrology thing of like the snake versus the horse year. So this is like last year was a 9 year. So there's like all these like unravelings and sheddings. And this year's like a 1 year. And I was like, I really think I feel a sense of like freshness on an even bigger way. Like I'm like, oh, I really do feel like I really cleared things out last year. Like now we're moving into what's next. Yes. Huge step to prove to myself I can do these things, not feeling like an imposter and a fraud, so I can confidently start my business. Yeah. And confidence comes from doing the things, It's like confidence is just built. It's what was it? Someone said confidence is not an input, it's an output. So confidence is the output that happens. It's like the outcome that happens as a result of inputs. And so it's like, what are the inputs that build my confidence? I guess this was one of them, right? So now it's like you build confidence through inputs. And it's an output. High involvement, low attachments. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I don't know how to have no attachment to things. It's like, what am I attaching to instead? You know? And so that's why I'm attaching hardcore to like my actions and like my systems and my follow through. I'm like very attached to that. But I think it's in a way that is like helping. Because yeah, I don't know how to remove attachment. And when people talk about that, I'm like, what does that mean? Like then you're just floating? Like what? Like we have to attach to something. Like, and it can't just be like I don't know. I think there needs to like maybe attached to the earth or attached like, but there has to be some attachment. Otherwise, what are we doing? So, okay, my loves, this was so fun. Thank you guys for spending all of this time with me as we get our plans ready. Everyone here live, we're spending the whole year together, so it's going to be amazing. Anyone watching replay who is not yet joining Create Your Six Figure Offer, totally welcome to join us and to have this structure that we take in together for the rest of the year. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you all soon. I'm going to be sending out a memo thing to everyone for Create Your Six Figure Offer, so you'll know what to expect for the year, and I'm super stoked. All right, my loves. Happy New Year. I'm going to be doing some lanterns where I'm in Thailand and there's like a lantern, lantern release ceremony. So I'm doing that. I'm holding a ritual with my friends. I'm taking them to a rooftop cafe. We're watching the sunset and I'm hosting something and then we're doing the lanterns. So I'm super excited. I hope you guys have a wonderful actual New Year's and I will see you soon.